Chapter 1740. Shinjilia found it a little ridiculous and laughed. She didn't take any credit for the fact that I'm with you. Yi Chanshan was exasperated. She flung her hair towel and said, "You don't understand at all. Do you know why she's my best friend?" Shinjilia raised his eyebrows and looked eager to hear more. "When I was a freshman, my grandmother was in poor health. My father and grandfather took out all their savings to treat her. At that time we had nothing at home. Half a semester had passed, and my father couldn't afford to pay for my living expenses. It was Fang Tong Tong who provided for me." Shinjilia was silent. "At that time I couldn't even afford to eat. I had to work part-time while attending school. I had to send some of the money back home. At that time I was so hungry that I developed stomach problems. I couldn't take it anymore and almost dropped out of school. It was Tong Tong who gave me $200 to eat properly. In the second semester, she even lent me the money she earned from her part-time job to pay for my tuition." Yi Chanshan felt a little sad when she said that. She looked at Shinjilia and continued, "If it weren't for Tong Tong, I would have dropped out of school. If I had dropped out of school, I wouldn't have found a job in Oya right after graduation. I wouldn't have met Lily and I wouldn't have met you. So, it's all thanks to Tong Tong that we're together now." Shinjilia was even more silent after listening to this series of karma. When Yi Chanshan saw his reaction, she continued, "Tong Tong is really good to me. I've always treated her as my best friend. All these years she's been at home and we've been apart more than together. I haven't had the chance to repay her. It's just a pair of pajamas. Don't be angry, okay?" Shinjilia couldn't get angry even if he wanted to. He looked at Yi Chanshan and pursed his lips. "When you went to Venice, you brought a bunch of gifts for her, right?" "Yeah. Actually, I wanted to ask her to go with me on the trip to Venice. I didn't expect that I'd sprain my ankle, so I couldn't go. The ticket expired." "Then why didn't she come to visit you when you injured your ankle?" "She was busy at the shop. How could she have the time to visit me? I told her not to." "So, she's not busy now." Yi Chanshan immediately shut her mouth and was speechless. Shinjilia sighed helplessly. "I've never believed in such things." "What?" "Fate. This is fate. Even if Fang Tong Tong didn't help you back then, I believe that we would have met in other ways. But that's how things are now. Do you dare to say that this isn't Tong Tong's credit?" "This is fate. This is fate. There's no such thing as a credit to anyone." Shinjilia didn't think much of it. "Everything that happens is destined. Don't dwell too much on the past. People change." She looked at Shinjilia and said angrily, "Forget it. I'm going to blow-dry my hair. I can't be bothered to talk to you." Chapter 1741. The next day Yi Chanshan returned home after a day of work, but old Shin was not home. Fang Tong Tong was not home either. Yi Chanshan raced against time to finish her work, only to come home to an empty house. She called Shinjilia. The moment the call connected, she heard voices coming from the other end of the line. "Hello? You're not back yet?" Yi Chanshan's voice carried a hint of coquettishness. "I thought I could have dinner when I got back. Yeah, I have to work overtime today. There's a patient who isn't in good condition. I'm a little busy, so I forgot to tell you. Go out with your bestie to eat." "Okay. Take care and come back early." "Okay." Yi Chanshan hung up the phone and called Fang Tong Tong. Fang Tong Tong was sitting leisurely in a cafe. When she received Yi Chanshan's call, she slowly picked it up. "Hi Chanshan. Where are you?" "I'm at home. Where are you?" "Old Shin is working overtime today, so he's not home. I haven't eaten yet." "I'm at Xingye Square. Come over. Let's go have hot pot." "Hot pot? It's such a hot day. It's my treat. I'll be right there." Fang Tong Tong smiled and hung up the phone. She continued to browse the web on her phone. It was a guide to a short-term trip to Kingstown. Yi Chanshan and Fang Tong Tong had hot pot together. After that, they went shopping and bought a lot of clothes. In addition to all kinds of clothes, there were also pajamas. They didn't return home until after 10 p.m. Shinjilia was reading some documents on the sofa in his pajamas. When he saw them return, he only glanced at them before he lowered his head and asked, "Have you eaten?" "Yes, we went to buy a lot of clothes." Yi Chanshan waved the shopping bag in her hand. "What did you eat tonight?" "I haven't eaten yet. Go take a shower. I'm a little busy." Shinjilia looked at the documents with a frown. "There have been a lot of women committing suicide recently. What's going on?" Fang Tong Tong was a little curious. She placed the shopping bag on the sofa and sat down to look at Shinjilia. Yi Chanshan glanced at him. After she closed the door, she asked, "How busy are you?" "You haven't eaten yet." Let me cook you a bowl of noodles. Okay. Don't put cilantro in it. Yi Qianshan pursed her lips and headed into the kitchen. Fang Tongtong asked curiously, "What did you mean by committing suicide?" "Oh, it's like this. This female patient is an elite returnee. She's an executive of a large company. She was pursued by a man during a business meeting. After the two of them fell in love, the man's wife suddenly appeared and beat her up. She called her a mistress and even scratched her car. She wrote a lot of nasty words on it. Oh, and then? Fang Tongtong was obsessed with all kinds of gossip. She rested her chin on her hands and looked at Shinjilia seriously. Then the woman went to the man to settle the score. When she was with the man, she didn't know that he had a wife. After they found each other, the man begged her not to break up with him. He promised that he would divorce his wife soon, but in the end, because his wife's family was rich and powerful, he couldn't bear to part with her, and the woman got pregnant. F***ck. That's so melodramatic. Fang Tongtong was shocked. And then? After that, the wife of the first wife beat the woman up again and caused her to have a miscarriage. After the incident, she was fired from the company, and the man disappeared without a trace. It could be said that he had nothing left. He was even cursed by others. In the end, he couldn't take the pressure and committed suicide at home. He didn't die? Chapter 1745. All right. Xiao Zhou felt as if he had been pardoned. In that case, sister-in-law, brother Shin seems to have fallen asleep again. I'll hang up now. Okay. Thank you for your hard work. You're welcome. Xiao Zhou hung up the phone in trepidation before heaving a huge sigh of relief. Xiao Zhou returned the phone to Shinjilia with a pained expression and said, "Brother Shin, is it really okay to lie to sister-in-law like that? I think it's better to tell her." Shinjilia lay on the hospital bed. His eyes were squinted and his face was extremely pale. A soft tube was attached to his arm, and a transparent liquid was slowly being transferred into his body. When he heard Xiao Zhou's words, Shinjilia opened his eyes and said, "It'll be even worse if I tell her. She'll be worried." "But are you going to stay in the hospital just like that? With your injuries, you'll need to stay here for at least some time. It won't do if you don't have a woman to take care of you." "It's fine. Go back to work. I can take care of it myself." Xiao Zhou panicked when he heard that. "What can you take care of? That's such a big wound and you've lost so much blood. It's good enough that you're still alive. How are you going to survive? You might not even be able to use your arm for the rest of your life. If you don't take good care of it, we'll see who gets the short end of the stick in the future. It's my bad luck to have such a patient." Shinjilia smiled bitterly as he looked at his arm, which had more than 10 stitches. "Where's the woman?" Sigh. "She's been sedated and locked up for the time being. But how did she end up like this all of a sudden? It can't be, Dr. Shin." Shinjilia took a deep breath and said, "Get me some water." Xiao Zhou pouted, but he had no choice but to obediently pour some water. Shinjilia continued, "She said that I looked like her ex-boyfriend and wanted me to compensate her for the loss of her youth. She even told me to die with her. I'm so handsome, so how could I die with her? What a waste." So I resolutely resisted. She had a mental breakdown. After she smashed the cup, she stabbed me several times with the shards. Xiao Zhou was both angry and amused when he heard that. But when he looked at Shinjilia's hand, he couldn't bring himself to laugh. "You used your hand to block it?" "Of course, if I didn't use my hands to block it, I would have either gone blind or had my throat slit. In any case, I would have ended up worse than this." Tisk. Xiao Zhou expressed his sympathy. "A woman who has lost her mind isn't scary. The scariest thing is that this crazy woman is a Sanda fighter." "Thank you, Mr. Shin." "Well, where's the water?" "Coming." Yi Qianshan didn't sleep well that night. When the alarm clock rang the next day, she had only slept for a few hours. She got out of bed, washed up, and got ready to go to work. As soon as she got on the bus, she called Shinjilia. Chapter 1747. It must be sister-in-law, right? Gu Yuanxing glanced at the screen and felt a little uneasy. Why did his sister-in-law call him? I didn't do anything too serious, did I? After some thought, Gu Yuanxing picked up the phone and answered the call. "Hello." It was a very young voice. Fang Tongtong's eyes lit up when she heard it. "Hello, is this Dr. Gu Yuanxing?" "Yes, sister-in-law." "Sister-in-law?" Fang Tongtong was stunned for a moment when he suddenly called her name. However, she quickly realized who he was referring to. "You've misunderstood. I'm not his girlfriend. I'm his girlfriend's best friend." Gu Yuanxing heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that and asked, Then how did you get my number? Fang Tong Tong was a little embarrassed. She stammered for a while before she said, I just wanted to get to know more people, so old Shin gave me your name card. Gu Yuanxing nodded his head and didn't think too much about it. He asked, Are you with sister-in-law now? Not yet. Chanchan went to work. What's the matter? Well, since you called, I won't hide it from you. Something happened to Brother Shin recently. He lied when he said that he returned to the capital today. He was injured and didn't want sister-in-law to worry, so he didn't dare to tell the truth. Fang Tong Tong was shocked when she heard that. No way. Old Shin was injured? Is it serious? Sai, it's pretty serious. His arm was stabbed 4 times and every stab was very deep. There were even glass shards inside. One of them even injured an artery. After a blood transfusion, he's much better now. However, such a serious injury can't go unattended. Old Shin didn't dare tell his girlfriend because he was afraid that she would be worried. We were still wondering if we should hire a caregiver for him. Hire a caregiver? Caregivers are extremely expensive. Fang Tong Tong clicked her tongue and said, There's no need to hire a caregiver. Mr. Gu, why don't you send me the address? I'll go take a look. If the injury is really serious, I'll tell Chanchan and ask her to take care of old Shin. Gu Yuanxing was quiet for a moment before he said, All right. He's at Kingstown Huxin Hospital. Call me when you're here and I'll tell you in person. All right, I'll go right away. Oh yes, why don't you prepare some clothes for Brother Shin? Brother Shin doesn't have any clothes in the hospital, and it's not convenient for me to look for sister-in-law. All right, I'll tidy it up. Thank you. Gu Yuanxing heaved a sigh of relief. I should be the one thanking you. Old Joe was still thinking of buying it after work. There's no need for that now. How should I address you? Room, the room of the house. Okay, see you later. Fang Tong Tong hung up the phone. After she changed her clothes, she hurriedly hailed a cab and left. When they arrived at the hospital, it was already half an hour later. Fang Tong Tong called Gu Yuanxing and walked into the inpatient department. Chapter 1750. Gu Yuanxing clapped his hands. Good. Well said. It's settled then. Brother Shin, I'm leaving. Little Fang, call me if you need anything. I'm ready to answer the phone anytime. Okay. Go ahead. Fang Tong Tong smiled. Soon, Gu Yuanxing felt relieved, turned around and walked out. Shinjilia felt it was inappropriate. You should go back. It's not appropriate for a man and a woman to be alone. Why are you so talkative? Can you move by yourself? Why don't I call Chanchan over? The second half of the sentence hit Shinjilia's soft spot. Shinjilia pursed his lips and didn't say anything. From that day on, Fang Tong Tong was busy running up and down the hospital. When Yi Chanchan went to work during the day, Fang Tong Tong ran to the hospital. Fang Tong Tong took care of ordering takeout, buying nutritious meals, changing medicine, pouring water, and other miscellaneous chores. If Shinjilia needed to go to the bathroom, he would call for his buddies to help him. Fang Tong Tong slowly returned home in the evening. This went on for 3 to 4 days in a row. It was the weekend. It was rare that Yi Chanchan didn't sleep in on the weekend. She picked up her phone and scrolled through Weibo. She couldn't bear to read anything else. She closed the page and opened her contact list. Ever since Shinjilia returned to the capital, she had called Shinjilia more than 20 times. Each call lasted no more than 10 minutes. More importantly, Yi Chanchan had been the one to make all the calls in the past 10 minutes. Shinjilia hadn't taken the initiative to call her in the past few days. The more Yi Chanchan thought about it, the more she felt that something was wrong. She sent a text message. Yi Chanchan asked, Are you awake? There was no reply. She looked at the time. It was 8:30 in the morning. According to Shinjilia's normal biological clock, he should be awake by now. Yi Chanchan wanted to call him, but she immediately regretted her decision before the call could go through. Yi Chanchan hung up the phone and walked out in frustration. At that moment, Fang Tong Tong walked out of the bathroom. She had changed into clothes that were suitable for going out instead of her normal pajamas. Yi Chanchan was a little surprised. Who are you going out with? Ah, haha. Fang Tong Tong was a little embarrassed. I'm going to meet a classmate. I haven't seen him in a long time. Classmate? Oh, you don't know him. I don't know them? Yi Chanchan found it strange. Stop fooling around. Are there any classmates you know that I don't know? Ah, that's right. Didn't you choose fewer elective courses in university? That's when I met her. You've never seen her before. Yi Chanchan found it even stranger. I wanted to go to the movies with you. Is the classmate you're talking about a guy or a girl? Don't tell me you're in love? Of course not. Sai, it's not that easy to fall in love. Sai, I'm going out. Fang Tong Tong looked a little defeated. You should continue to catch up on sleep. You've been working overtime for so many days. Get some rest. When are you coming back? How about tonight? You've been coming home very late recently, and you've been spending time with your classmate? You leave early and return late, and you won't even let me see you. How dare you say that you're not dating? Yi Chanshan's eyes were mischievous. Tell me, who is the other party? Bah, don't think too much about it. Hurry up and call your man. Moi. Fang Tong Tong put on her shoes and quickly ran off. Fang Tongtong's face was filled with fascination when she talked about this person. Yi Chanshan looked at her with a mischievous glint in her eyes. It looks like you've really fallen for him this time. A man that you like must be very outstanding, right? Of course, he is very, very outstanding. I like him very, very much. Ha, does she like you? Of course. Fang Tongtong's face heated up. Otherwise, it's just that I'm too busy shaving my head. It's boring. Yi Chanshan patted her on the shoulder and said, That's good. Get along well. When you get married, I'll be your bridesmaid. Chapter 1759. Shinjilia couldn't react at all. He stared at Yi Chanshan for a moment before he mumbled, Chanshan. Yi Chanshan opened the door wider and walked forward. Fang Tong Tong looked at Yi Chanshan. She wanted to say something, but when she opened her mouth, no words came out. Awkward. Especially when she thought about what she said to Yi Chanshan the night before, Fang Tong Tong felt that her current posture was a little ugly. Best friend. Boyfriend. Best friend's boyfriend. Since everyone is here, there are some things that we should all be clear about. Yi Chanshan's lips were slightly curved, but her uneven breathing clearly revealed her feelings at that moment. She wasn't as calm as she appeared to be. Shinjulia's heart skipped a beat. He immediately stood up and walked forward. But before he could say anything, he saw Yi Chanshan walk forward. Yi Chanshan's cheeks, which were usually gentle and playful, were abnormally red. Yi Chanshan gritted her teeth and walked forward. She raised her hand and slapped it hard. Slap. The loud sound of the slap was especially loud in the quiet ward. Shinjulia was stunned by the slap. He felt a burning sensation on his cheek, and Yi Chanshan's expression was almost contorted, but she still tried her best to maintain a calm expression. Yi Chanshan was furious. Fang Tong Tong exclaimed in surprise. She immediately stood up and explained, Chan Chan, you've misunderstood. I don't have the kind of relationship you think I have with him. In Yi Chan Chan's ears, Fang Tong Tong's words sounded more like a proud boast. Haha. Yi Chan Chan looked at Fang Tong Tong. Her voice was so cold that even she found it strange. Is this the doctor boyfriend you were talking about? Mutual affection? Fang Tong Tong felt as if she had bitten her tongue. She wanted to say something but she couldn't say a word. Yes, she was the one who said it. She was the one who said all the words. Chan Chan. Shenjilia held Yi Chan Chan's hand uneasily. Let go. Yi Chan Chan was on the verge of breaking down. Her voice was already choking. Shenjilia, what do you take me for? Shenjilia panicked. He grabbed her hand and squeezed it tightly. I just don't want you to worry. Get lost. Let go of Shenjilia. We're done for. Yi Chan Chan flung his hand off forcefully and bellowed, Go to hell with the capital. Go to hell with your work. Chan Chan. Fang Tong Tong panicked as well. She had grown up with Yi Chan Chan and had never seen Yi Chan Chan in such a state. I'm sorry, Chan Chan. F*CKU. I'm sorry, B*T. Yi Chan Chan retreated and suddenly laughed. Do you like to steal from others? Fine, I'll give it to you. I don't care for such a piece of *T. Fang Tong Tong's breathing quickened. She found it hard to believe that Yi Chan Chan would have such a side to her. Her hysterical words fell into Shenjilia's ears. It was as if Yi Chan Chan had taken a hoe and was viciously digging into his heart. Chapter 1776. Scheming whore? Chan Chan, why did you say that? You're really disappointing me. Sisai? Yi Chan Chan was so angry that she laughed. She couldn't take it anymore and made a call. Fang Tong Tong quickly picked up the call. However, the moment she picked up the phone, Yi Chan Chan heard sobbing coming from the other end. The words that Yi Chan Chan wanted to hurl at Fang Tong Tong were stuck in her throat. She couldn't say a single word. Fang Tong Tong's sobbing voice could be heard. She choked and shouted, Chan Chan, how could you say that to me? No matter what, I can't have anything to do with your boyfriend. Yi Chan Chan was speechless. If one were to ask Yi Chan Chan what annoyed her the most in her life, it would be this kind of woman who cried like Sister Lin. When Yi Chan Chan heard Fang Tong Tong's sobs, she lost her temper. She was so frustrated that she wanted to curse. She roared, You, however, she didn't know what to say when the words were on the tip of her tongue. Fang Tong Tong's sobs grew louder. She said, I admit that I've been taking care of old Shen for the past few days, but I guarantee that I didn't have any improper thoughts about him. I swear to you. Are you done? Why are you crying? Yi Chan Chan was extremely annoyed. Can crying solve the problem? Fang Tong Tong wailed and said, Chan Chan, no matter what, you have to believe me. I've been taking care of old Shen for the past few days, but I've never thought about stealing your boyfriend. I admit that old Shen is very charming. He's handsome, rich, and he treats his girlfriend extremely well. However, I also know what's mine and what's not. Do you know Chan Chan? I really treat you as my best friend and bestie. This time, if old Shen hadn't stopped me from telling you about us, what happened between me and old Shen would have been an accident. If old Shen hadn't stopped me, I would have said that I've let you down. What? Yi Chan Chan felt as if her heart was being squeezed tightly. What did you say happened between you and Shenjilia? What accident? Fang Tong Tong's sobs stopped abruptly. It was as if she immediately realized that she had said the wrong thing. Her voice became a little sluggish. What do you mean? Tell me clearly. Yi Chan Chan's voice wasn't very calm. What happened between you and old Shen? Accident? However, Fang Tong Tong was silent. After a long while she said, Old Shen truly loves you. No matter how much he lied to you, he still loves you. He's just afraid that you'll be sad. Let me ask you, what exactly happened between the two of you? What accident? Yi Chan Chan was truly enraged. She raised her voice and slammed the table. She stood up and said, Explain yourself. Most of the people in the office had gone out, but there were still many colleagues who brought their own lunch boxes to eat in the company. They were eating when they heard Yi Chan Chan's roar. Everyone turned to look at her.